Hello and welcome to episode 61 of The Weighing Room, where we are back this week after no jumps racing in Britain during last week, but we are back previewing racing on ITV from Cheltenham and Doncaster with some top quality action to get stuck into at both tracks. I'm only joined, as you can see, by Frankie Foster this week, with Paul set to be back next week. Frankie, a bit under the weather, weren't you, last week?
I
But
was.
back in better form now?
Yeah, it was rough. And I've timed these gaps in racing well twice now. I went away for one when the ground was frozen, and I was in bed sick when the other was because I had to cancel Haydock on the Friday because I was so rough. And then I woke up and I obviously wanted racing to be on, but selfishly, a part of me was happy because I couldn't go. So I thought at least I'm not missing out. But yeah, back on good form and ready for Cheltenham. Really now, it's a cracking card, isn't it? It's yeah for me. I'm going to go to Cheltenham, and all 9 races look brilliant. So I'm excited for this weekend.
Yeah, we were just talking, weren't we, before we started, that this 9 race card at Cheltenham could be even better than one of the days at the festival, couldn't it? It's just absolutely brilliant how much good action we've got on. And we'll start off by means to go on, because the first race we're going to cover is that Grade 1 rearranged Clarence Chase over 2.5 miles a furlong. Obviously, this race was a bit of a talking point last week. I only saw 3 runners actually declared before it was called off. We see those 3 runners again, but with 3 more runners with Editor de Gite supplemented as well. We've got Energy at the top of the market with Edwardstone. It's probably still going to be like a 2-horse race, isn't it? You think with one of the others like Amarillo Sky, Editor de Gite, trying to pick up that third place prize money, because I think it's about 18,000 for third, which isn't bad at all. But I think it is a 2-horse race. But who have you gone with, Frankie, to start us off?
Yeah, I agree. Probably a 2-horse race, but it definitely does make the difference when you're looking through the race card, have more runners in here, and even when they set off, and for them to travel as a bit of a group rather than just a couple of horses, I think is really good for racing and fans on the day as well. So I'm happy that more have turned up, and it is horse racing. You never know, we could get a shock, but I'm looking at the top 2, and it's one of those classic kind of cases of. Do we go with who I think is the most likely winner, the most obvious winner, or am I going to look at the prices and try and find a bit of value? I mean, it's quite straightforward to say Energamine, he's been very flawless. He won the champion chase, but 8 to 15 is just way too short for me against Edwardstone. And if I'm looking to have a bet in this, I think Edwardstone holds all the value here. For me, if Energamine went and won, I'll probably have a bet on Edwardstone. If Energamine goes and wins by 10 lengths, I'll be disappointed. If it's close, if he wins by a neck, a head, or whatever, I'll say fair play. We had a good run at 2 to 1, and there is a chance that Edwardstone can go and win at the price. So that's the value bet for me. I love this horse's speed. I love how he attacks his fences. He was so good in the Arkle last year, which I think is worth a watch. Now we're coming back to Cheltenham. So good in the Arkle. And, behind him that day, Blue Lord, Riviere Tell, or even Horton Colour, they're all decent Irish horses as well. If we're trying to compare the English and the Irish, you go back to the Arkle, and he did beat some good Irish horses that day. So I'm excited about Edwardstone. Like I said, if Energamine goes and wins and it's close, I'll say, fair play. We had a good run at 2 to 1. But Edwardstone represents the value in this for me. And I do think he can go and win. Cheltenham suits him. He'll come down that hill and attack those last 2 fences, and hopefully we get to see a battle.
What you've said, I absolutely agree with from an Edwardstone point of view. But I've got to say, mate, to me, it makes no difference if there's 3 runners, 6 runners, 10 runners. Edwardstone's in there. Energamine just wins this. I know the price. I know the price is short, 8 to 15. And Edwardstone is the value at 2 to 1 because he's an Arkle winner. Why would you not want to take on a short price favourite with an Arkle winner who's done it round the track? I know it's a different course here, but there's still the undulations of Cheltenham. It's not too dissimilar. But for me, the one thing why I think Energamine will win, and it's not even off the back of the champion chase win last season, because the race really fell apart. But for me, one of the best races I saw last season, probably one of the best races I've seen for a long time, was Energamine against Shishkin at Ascot in the Clarence Chase. Before, during his career, Energamine's won 10 of 11 races. He's only lost once over obstacles, and that came in that race. I think you need a performance like Shishkin put up against Energamine to beat this horse. I don't think Edwardstone can reach the levels that Shishkin was last season to beat Energamine, if you know what I mean. That's what I'm going off. I know you can look at it from a price point of view and look at the Edwardstone's of value, which you bang on with. You bang on because why wouldn't you want to play against a short price favourite? But for me, it's either a race you don't bet in unless you back Energumene and shove him in multiples. Because I just really, really think he's an absolute class act. And I actually think, looking towards the Cheltenham Festival, bar Constitution Hill, I think he's probably one of the most safest favourites to go for. I really do. And it's nothing against Edward Stone. It's just how highly I rate Energumene. I think he's absolutely brilliant. I think he jumps well. He can handle heavy ground, soft ground, good to soft ground. I just don't see any chink in his armour. I really don't, because if you look throughout his career, he's gone over 2 mile 4 as well. He can stay if needs be.
He's a bit of a tank, isn't he?
Yeah, he's just got the lot. So I just think it's going to take an unbelievable performance to beat him. And if Edward Stone does beat him, bloody hell, that's going to really shake up those champion chase markets. But
I know it'd be interesting, won't it, to see the market. I think if you're of the opinion like you are, you're very strong on Energumene. You probably want to have a bet now for the champion chase, don't you? Because it'll only shorten if he goes and wins. But yeah, I mean, the market it'll almost flip flop, probably, won't it? If Everton did go and win, it would make it very juicy. So yeah, it's a cracking race to get going with, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. And like you said, I'm so glad there is 4 more runners in the race as well, because even though they probably are playing for that 3rd spot, it makes it a bit more of a spectacle, doesn't it? You've got other horses in the race, change up how other horses will run. Will some drop in? Will some go from the front? It's a great race. I'm so glad it was rearranged. But it really is a cracking contest with them two. Anyway, we'll move on to the first event. We're going to cover from Doncaster. Actually, not on ITV, I don't think, but I couldn't leave it out the running order because the Grade 2 Lightning Novices Chase from Doncaster, although seeing some horses drop out at the 48-hour deck stage, still leaves quite a good film. We've got top of the market, Tommy's Oscar at 7-4. We've got the Harry Fry Train Boot Hill at 2-1, since day one, 14-1, then 20-1 bar that. Talk us through your fancy in this one, Frankie. I think for me, again, it's at the top 2 in the market.
Yeah, I'd agree. And we've spoke about Tommy's Oscar before on the pod, and I was impressed with him at Carlisle, but I've been a bit put off since, if I'm honest. Well beaten by Banbridge, then went over hurdles in the fighting 5th. Them beaten last time out, I know, giving loads of weight away to since day one that goes again in this off of level weights, hence the price difference. But I've been slightly put off by those defeats. I know he was a fantastic hurdler, but has he quite got that over fences? I'm not sure. Boot Hill, on the other hand, has been more consistent. He's only been beaten by John Bon over fences. He put in a really good round last time out at Kempton, and I think he just looks the one that's progressing more over fences, whereas Tommy's Oscar came out over fences and put in that great run at Carlisle, and you thought, hey, he might kick on here from his hurdling career. But Boot Hill looks neat and tidy, looks progressive, and looks more solid for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Boot Hill's solid. I know he's got to give £5 to Tommy's Oscar and most of the field, but for me, I think the prices are all wrong here. I don't know how Tommy's Oscar is 7-4 favourite. Boot Hill at 2-1 for me screams value. I think should be much shorter. Should be favourite. And like you said, the form you've got, I don't think Tommy's Oscar, I know it's a different track, it's a different race, but I don't think Tommy's Oscar would have got as close to John Bon as Boot Hill did. If you look at that race against John Bon, I think it was the second race out. Second or third out, all John Bon back was going, getting a bit closer. Yeah. But the class prevailed. John Bon's a superb horse. But I know there's not many horses that have run against John Bon yet, but Boot Hill, he's the closest horse to get to John Bon. If you look off the back of what he's done, then he's gone on to obviously win against Auckland Risque. That was another good performance because getting up late in the day, that was superb how he did. And he was quite cosy when he actually got past in that Wayward Lad. So for me, I think the price is all wrong. I think they've got the wrong favourites here. And I think Boot Hill's solid in this race. Albite's he's got to give the £5 away to Tommy's Oscar and others in the field. But yeah, I'm with you. I think he's solid, Boot Hill, and I think he goes and wins. Right, back over to Cheltenham then for another standout race, and it's the Paddy Power Cheltenham Countdown Podcast Handicap Chase over 2 mile 4.5 furlongs. A race that maybe might go by the wayside with all the graded action, but still very competitive, this one, Frankie.
It is, yeah. I'm going to mention 2, both actually neighbouring each other in the market at around 16-1 at current. Nocte Velatus and Phoenix Way. The first of those 2, nice and progressive in various handicaps. Has won 2 lower level handicaps, and then has had a few kind of mishaps either side of being second, a long way clear of third as Fallon unseated the rider. But the 2 performances I'm looking at, one is a second at Sandown, 20 plus lengths clear of third in a Class 3 handicap. And then other is his comeback run at Hereford. Again, not the strongest of contests, but off a 250-day break, second, again, 20 plus lengths clear of third. And I think maybe this horse's mark has just been protected slightly of recent by a couple of seconds, unseating, and therefore could have a chance. But this might be the ceiling, or this definitely is the test. You know, coming into a Class 1 at Cheltenham, it's more competitive, but I think should have a chance at least. And then the other, Phoenix Way, this would be the stronger. This would be my selection of the two. You've got to watch that run at Chepstow. 241-day break, comes back and carves through the field from miles back. The only reason he didn't get closer to Fugitive is because Fugitive almost did the same in the sense, if you watch the Fugitives out at the front and Phoenix Way's miles back, they both turn on the gas and they both go together, but there's too much of a gap for Phoenix Way to make up. Put that performance next to some of his older ones, off around the kind of 140 mark. He's won at Ascot in a Class 2. He's been Fallon Desterville. Add the fact that he's coming back from a break and he should improve for that run. I think that does set him up nicely for this. My only worry for both of them is they've never gone to Cheltenham, which it doesn't help you when you're trying to get around Cheltenham. But I really did like. I'd say that's worth a watch. Phoenix Way at Chepstow last time out. He carves through the field. He just can't make up the ground.
Yeah, I tell you what, I'm absolutely with you on Phoenix Way. It's one I picked out as well. I've got two in the race. Phoenix Way was my bigger price one at 16-1. I'll talk about first because you mentioned them for exactly the reasons you've just said. And he's only £2 higher than his last winning mark. If you look, he's on a mark of 142 for this race. And if you look at what he's actually done on his second race every single season, he's always needed that first one. I thought it was a great run at Chepstow. I think you bang on, was never in it to win the race. I think it was definitely a stepping stone to bigger things. Maybe this, I think it would have run last week at Ascot actually, but they've gone here instead. Yes, not going around Cheltenham's not the best thing in the world, but off a marker 142. I know he's a 10-year-old, but we don't mind, do we? The older horses,
we don't,
but
especially in these big handicaps.
Exactly, and a 142. £2 lower than that ride at Chepstow, only £2 higher than its last winning mark, in January at Ascot. It's ran over 2 mile 5. It's even ran over 3 miles before, so it's got no problem staying the trip here. I thought this horse was really, really interesting. The other one I've gone for is off the same 4 line, and it was Fugitive, because I just, even though this horse is £10 higher, the way he won that race at Chepstow suggested to me he could handle the £10 rise. If you look at he's a horse that's actually run round Cheltenham behind Amarillo Sky before going to Chepstow. For me, he needed to go up to 2 mile 4. That was ran over 2 mile, was staying all day, was very unlucky to lose to Amarillo Sky. Obviously, Amarillo Sky's gone on after that and won as well, and he's running in the Grade 1 Clarence House. So that obviously shows where that horse is. Yes, up £10 to 143 from winning off 133 last time. I just thought he'd be able to handle it. And from the way he won last time, back up 2 mile 4 again, I was just very interested. I know he's near the top of the market around 11-2. I think he's joint fav at the moment with El Ridotto. I thought he had a much better chance than El Ridotto. And I was happy to play Fugitive as well. So Fugitive and Phoenix Way. Phoenix Way, obviously, from a big each way standpoint, some bookies should be offering extra places. And you could even play Fugitive, I think, each way 11-2, because it is a big enough field, isn't it? So I think, they've both got really big chances. So we're going to go back over to Doncaster then, and another Grade 2 from there is the Yorkshire Rose Mares Hurdle race over 2 mile and half a furlong. You see some very familiar mares go to post, but Frankie Epatant's at the top of the market. She just goes and wins, doesn't she?
I think so, yeah. Don't need to say too much about this, to be honest. She's in as good a form as ever. She's just been beaten by Constitution Hill, and I think, not to discredit Everton, because she's come second and all the focus has been on Constitution Hill, but if I'm to move the focus to him again, I think we're just going to see how good he is when she goes and demolishes this field. And we know the way that Constitution Hill has beaten Epatante. I think gets another vote in the box of Connie Hill on just how good he is. So, yeah, I think she goes and wins. I don't see any reason why she wouldn't. She's in good form. And none of these should get close, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can't say much more than that. She's a very short price. She's going to go and win. And I think she probably goes on to the Mares Hurdle at the festival. I'll be surprised if she went to the Champion Hurdle, because she knows she can't win it if Constitution Hill's in there. This race is so much calmer waters than what she's been in against Constitution Hill the last 2 times. That's why she's such a short price. I don't think she probably wants it really soft. I think throughout her career, I don't think she really has. But I just think whatever the ground is, I don't think it'll matter because the horses against her in this aren't good enough. Compared to her, I think it's very simple. Yeah, and we don't probably need to spend much more time on that race. So back over to Cheltenham then. And arguably their feature race on the day is the Paddy Power Cotswold Chase over 3 mile, 1.5 furlongs. Although this race has slightly cut up at the 48-hour debt stage before the anti-post stage, where he did have a few more runners in, still got 6 runners that, for me, it acts as a very good Gold Cup trial and probably one of the best we've seen in Britain this season. We've got Protector out at the top of the market, 13-8. Noble Yeats, Grand National winner last season, 2-1. Sounds Russian, who's run well this season, 15-2. Ahoy Senor, 8-1. If he can sort out his jumping, he's definitely got to have a chance in this, just if he can. Frodon, 17-2 back at Cheltenham, and then Dusart at 12-1. Frankie, a cracking race for me. Who are you going with?
It is, yeah. I saw on Twitter Lucinda Russell tweet that her father sadly passed away, who owns or still owned a leg in Ahoy Senor. So I think that would be brilliant if he, especially given that he's been slightly out of form, if he refound form, that'd be a fantastic story. But for me, off of what we've got here, Protector Out, I think the favourite should win this. I mean, it's such a fascinating race. You've got Protector Out, Betfair Chase won a 3rd in the Gold Cup last year. Nobody, it's a Grand National winner. Ahoy Senor, like we said, a quirky horse. Frodon, I don't think is good enough. Sam Russian, I don't think is good enough. Although definitely stays and has run well. Might be there at the finish into a place if we had more runners. Unfortunately, you'll only get 2. But yeah, the favourite's strong for me here. He's got the best of the British chance of winning the Gold Cup for us. He was good in the Betfair Chase, although didn't beat loads. I know Aplutard was in the race, but didn't run a race. The form for me is the 3rd in the Gold Cup last year. He's gone around Cheltenham plenty of times, and to come 3rd in the Gold Cup last year, and now to come into this race, he should go and win. And to be honest, I think that's a bit of a price. Noble Yeats looked exciting the way he finished his race last time out, but again, didn't beat loads. But just the way that he quickened, you could get you a bit excited. But yeah, Protector Out, I think this is a strong bet. I think this should go and win.
I'm probably not as strong on this as you, but I am in the Protector Out camp for this race as well. So I'm agreeing with you again. I do like this horse, and look, they were both at the top of the market, Noble Yeats and Protector Out around 13-8, and Noble Yeats just drifted out to about 2-1. For me, I was with you. The bit of form that swindled it into Protector Out's way was the Gold Cup 3rd. That was an absolutely cracking run. What they've done this year with the Skeltons, obviously they kept it fresh, sent it to the Betfair Chase. I know Aplutard didn't turn up, but the performance this horse put in was absolutely superb. And you'd like to think whether if Aplutard was even at his best, whether we'd gone and beat Protector Out, because it was an absolutely superb performance. They said straight away after the race, we're going to nominate the Cotswold Chase as the next point of call before going to the Gold Cup. They've done exactly that. They've no hesitation about it running it again. If you look at how Harry Skelton was talking about this horse as well, they think
so this is his best chance, didn't he? Ever winner at Cheltenham.
I think this has got a massive chance in the Gold Cup. So although it's probably not going to be at its primed until the Gold Cup, I still think they'll have it in its best form at the moment. And look, I am scared of Noble Yeats. I'm a bit more scared than you are, because the way it won at Aintree, it's either going to turn out to be an Aintree specialist horse, winning obviously the Grand National, winning that many clouds, or it could actually come to Cheltenham and show exactly the same speed after that last fence. I've never seen a horse that could go over 4 mile 2, also drop back to 3 mile 2, and up towards that last fence. It was like a 5 furlong sprinter. Jumped in and ran away as well.
It was Aplutard-esque, wasn't it, in the Gold Cup?
Yeah,
because he pinged the last and kicked on quickly with some speed. It was impressive, but I'm wondering, has it looked more impressive against slightly lesser opposition?
Yeah, and that's maybe it. And it's because also another thing, with Protector Out running around Cheltenham a fair few times during his career, that 3rd in the Gold Cup. Noble Yeats hasn't ran round, not too dissimilar in price. I know they've both got to give a bit of weight away to the field, but I think at this top level, they are just far better than some of the horses in behind them. So I'm with you. I think Protector Out will go and win this race. But I'd watch out for Noble Yeats just to see how he handles the trap, because if he does run close, I wouldn't rule him out going well in the Gold Cup as well. But it's a fascinating race between them two. And obviously you've got Hoy Senior as well. I just don't think he's jumping in the same. I'll tell you what, I'd send him to the Stayers Hurdle. They didn't give him an entry. I would send him back over hurdles and get him jumping over hurdles, because he just can't jump fences as well as I think the team probably thinks he can. And obviously Frodon will go out in front and try and do his best, and he loves it round Cheltenham. It's a fascinating race, and I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, but I think we're both in the same camp with Protectorat. Right, then back over to Doncaster. And it's the Grade 2 Albert Bartlett River Don Novices Hurdle. Frankie, I could be touching on Nat territory here with one of the horses in here, but I'll let you go first. Who do you like?
Nat territory. God, it's a tricky one, this. I found this hard to decipher. Stay Away Faye looked pretty exciting. Was an expensive purchase, I'm pretty sure. Was bought at the December sale for 300 odd grand. Could be a worthy favourite. Grand Soir stayed on nicely over in Ireland. There's 1-3 on the bounce at staying trips. The one I'm going to go with, and I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, but the Twist and Davies horse, Adalco by who, or however you say that.
Good enough.
I think ran a really good race at Newbury. That Hermes Allen one. Now Hermes Allen looks an absolute machine to me. That was real testing ground that day. More than half the field, I think, was pulled up. And I think the pace that Hermes Allen set for Adalco to keep going and plugging on and sticking at the task into third was actually half decent form to me over 2.5. And now coming up onto 3 miles, probably get that, or we won't get that soft ground, sorry, this time won't get his testing ground. But at a bit of an each way price, I like the way that this horse battled and stayed on into third on what was a really strong run race on really testing ground. So I wouldn't say it's a strong opinion for me, but to find one I think will be in the mix at an each way price, the Twist and Davies horses fits that for me.
Yeah, there wasn't many horses that actually finished that Chalo,
No.
was there? And it did run on well, but for me, there's a standout selection here, and that's Stay Away Faye. You mentioned there it cost Chris Giles £305,000 at the Cheltenham sales. I think it was December 2021. That was off the back of winning a point-to-point by 6 lengths. They have waited on this horse slightly, and you look from his rules debut at Newbury, this horse wants to go up in trip. It absolutely wants a trip. It went over 2 mile, 4.5 furlongs at Newbury. It looked to be learning quite a lot on the job. If you go back and watch the race, it was off the bridle fairly early on, but the way it stayed, it won by 5 lengths, eased down. The second has since gone on to win a decent event. This horse just wants to step up in trip. From listening to other people and listening to different podcasts and stuff like that, who have got a good connection to Nichols, apparently this horse has absolutely strengthened up since then and has done a lot of good work at home. This horse has been backed off the boards throughout the anti-post stage. It was 9-2. It's now 11-4 best price. I think it's a cracking bet, 11-4. I'd always wanted to see it go up in trip off the back of its rules debut. I'm really, really excited about seeing this horse. So Stay Away Faye is quite a strong selection for me, and I just think going up in trip will improve it even more. So then the Grade 2 Cleeve Hurdles, the next race we're going to talk about, another staying contest over 3 miles, and the boy Paisley Park is looking to land his 4th straight win in the race. Frankie, does he go and win it, or are you taking him on?
I hope so, and I think so, to be honest. I really do think so. There's nothing in this field that gets me too worried. Maybe Gelino Bello would be the one I'd pick out to challenge him. But yeah, why can't we have Paisley Park? He's been in as good a form ever. On his opener against Champ, and we know that he's not at his best on his opening race of the year. He put in a fantastic performance and came, a very, very close second. Then he went and beat Champ, Goshen, and the rest of them at Kempton, and looked really strong when winning that day. Cheltenham, this Cleeve Hurdle is his backyard. You're coming into his backyard. He knows his job here. He won it last time, didn't he, after giving away how many lengths? If he's fired up, which he's shown no reason to suggest he's going backwards, he should go and win this. He really should. And 5-4, in my opinion, is very fair. So yeah, Paisley Park, I really do think he makes history. I think it would be, wouldn't it? It'd be a record number of Cleeve Hurdles. And we'll get a massive cheer if he goes and does that.
See, it's always tough to me whenever Paisley Park's in the race because I never want to go against. He's my favourite horse in training. I absolutely love him. But what I've loved about this is I actually fancy him as well. So I'm not just going off the thing I love Paisley Park. I just think he's the best stayer I have actually ever seen. And I know he's 11 years old now, but I don't think anything in this field, for me, is good enough to outstay this horse if he's on his A game. I really
No.
don't. We know with Paisley Park that he's not going to have any issues with the track whatsoever because he's won this race 3 times in a row. He's won a Stayers hurdle. He's also gone to other tracks, won a long walk hurdle, long distance. So I think he's won 3 long walk hurdles. So he is the ultimate stayer, isn't he? And the one thing you probably got to look at because he's 11 years of age now is when does he start to have his demise? And when he had the heart issue, you maybe thought that was, but he seems better than ever now. He seems to have got rid of that issue. He's come
He
back.
loves it.
He absolutely loves the game again. And getting back to Cheltenham's only going to help him because it's a real staying track, and that's exactly all he wants to do. I guarantee he'll be first off the bridle, and he'll stay. he'll stay better than any of them. Like I said, the fire still well and truly burns in his belly. The 2 runs he's had this season, obviously in the photo finish against Champ, we know how good Champ is fresh. Champ's not going to the Stayers being saved for entry because he needs to be fresh. And then last time at a track that everyone thought wasn't Paisley Park's at Kempton, he obviously went on to outstay Champ and Goshen and won quite easily after jumping the last.
He did, yeah.
So I've got no problem with his age. The only horse I actually worry about in the field is Dashel Drasher because he doesn't get the respect he deserves. He really doesn't. He's a game stayer as well. At 9-2, I think the way if I was properly playing this, I'll back Paisley Park all day. But if you wanted something for the 1-2 forecast, maybe I can see Dashel Drasher being in second in this race. But I can't take anything away from Paisley, and I hope he goes and does it because what a horse this has been for connections. It's a great story, and I think we've just seen Tia Hoopug obviously go and win the Galmoy hurdle, gone into favourite for the Stayers. I'd like to think Paisley puts up a good performance and shortens in price for the Stayers, and we'll go and give the youngsters a bit of a race in March. But he's got to go and win this first, and I think he will. So looking forward to seeing him back on track. So the final event from Doncaster we're going to cover and on ITV is the competitive Sky Bet Handicap Chase over 3 miles. Over the years, this race it's been a bit of a nightmare for punters, and it's been run on some horrible ground. It's seen well handicapped horses when it's seen some not well handicapped horses when it's a real tough one for punters. But we do have quite a strong favourite actually in the top of the market in Garlaw, who's been backed heavily from an anti-post stage and sits there at the top at the moment. I think around 11-4, 3-1. Frankie, who did you land on in this one?
Yeah, Garlaw, I mean, probably your worthy favourite. The class acts in the race, and I did nearly put him up as a selection, but it's again one of those races where I couldn't be strong enough on Garlaw 11-4 to have a bet on the nose. So I was trying to find a bit of value to go each way, and take, hopefully a place and maybe a chance at winning at a bigger price. So Mr. Coffee is my selection in this one that I'm clinging on to for too long, but he's got to get his day in the sun. I think this horse has been so unlucky. I think he probably shows a bit more talent at home than maybe he has on the track. He's got a ridiculous number of second places to his name. The most recent after a break coming back and finishing second at Chepstow. But I just think I went through the field. As I said, nothing stood out massively. Garlaw's the class act, but Mr. Coffee off of 140 is the one that is well handicapped, does know his job, can stay 3 miles, can jump, and if he's on his best, should definitely have a chance. I mean, you've only got to look at how many seconds he's got to know that 9-1 to place isn't the worst bet. So I think I'm clinging. I'll probably give up after this. But I do think this horse has got a big race like this in him, and hopefully this can be it.
Yeah, he's been so unlucky, hasn't he, this horse? He's bumping in to other horses, just finishing second all the time. And you always say, look, he's going to win one, he's going to win one. Maybe this might be the one he wins. And at 91, you're probably happy to see him go and play him each way because you know he's going to run his race. It's just if he can get his head in front. The way I played this, because it was fairly big field, I had 2 stabs, as I normally do in a big field of handicaps. I think you can split your stakes on this. I was happy with Garlaw as favourite. He probably is a bit of a shorter price than maybe I want to back him at. I know he was a much bigger price during the week, and he's 3-1, 11-4 now. But I think he's the right favourite. He's obviously top weight, but off what he's done this season, and he only still looks to be progressing at the age of 7. I think he's got a massive chance because, well, he was third on debut after 18 months off in the Grade 2 Old Roan Handicap Chase. That was behind Hitman, Riders on the Storm. Riders on the Storm hasn't really come out and done anything, but Hitman's obviously come out and won a nice race at Haydock in that graduation chase. But Garlaw, after that, went on to Cheltenham in the November Paddy Power Gold Cup off 142 and went on to beat French Dynamite, didn't he, late on, staying up the hill absolutely beautifully. I thought French Dynamite wouldn't have got beat that day, and the way he was outstayed showed to me how good a horse Garlaw is. Yes, he's been raised to a mark of 150 for this, £8 higher. But the going up to 3 miles, I think he's only going to improve this horse. You look at the way he was finishing, he wants that extra bit of distance. And I'm really looking forward to seeing him again because after such an absence, you don't know how a horse is going to come back. And this horse in his 2 runs looks to be absolutely loving life back on track. So for me, Garlaw is a worthy favourite. I think it'll be very tough to beat. One each way at a bigger price, around 14-1 for Tom George's yard is Java Point. I thought that was slightly overpriced for how consistent this horse is. Like what you were saying with Mr. Coffee finishing second quite a bit, this horse, Java Point, hasn't really been out the placings in a lot of his runs. If you look at what this horse has done, he's still fairly feasibly treated off 133, I think. He was very consistent at the back end of last season with 3 of his 4 events in handicap chases, and that was between 2 mile, 4 and 3 miles, so he's got no problem at the trip. That's what I like to see. He won at Ludlow off a marker 121, and then he's gone up to a marker 130, win at Ludlow again, and also winning at Newbury. This term, he started again off a marker 133, and he's been seen on 2 occasions with his mark not changing. He was went to Newbury over 2 miles, 6.5 furlongs, and he was third behind that well-handicapped Zanza, if you remember that race. Zanza's mark was dropping, and went on to bolt up, but it wasn't a bad run. First run back, I thought, by Java Point. Seen last time out on New Year's Day at Cheltenham in a handicap chase over 3 mile, 2.5 furlongs. He was a good second behind the Rapper. I put the Rapper up that day. And he was well handicapped for Henry Daly. He went on to bolt up, but Java Point stayed on into second. So he's going back in trip sight to 3 miles, which I think he probably needs. He's still on that marker 133. I thought 14-1. He's got a cracking each way chance. And again, with some firms probably offering extra places, so I would not rule him out at all. So we're going to finish this week's podcast at Cheltenham in the Grade 2 Ballymore Novices Hurdle race. And me and Frankie talked off air about this. This was an absolute minefield for me. Finish this week's off selections, Frankie, because I found this very, very tough.
It's tricky, isn't it? And enough of these have won well last time out. The top 7 in the market, bar Rock My Way, have all won last time out. A number of them have strung a couple of good performances and are on hat tricks or have completed a hat trick already. The 3 standout performances for me visually were Blekkinsop, who's on a 5-timer for Henry Daly, Rock My Way, who was second behind the talented Twist and Davies horse. Remind me of his name. We've all been caught. And then Can You Call, another one I thought was very visually impressive. Just looked to finish his race really, really strongly. The selection for me is going to be Rock My Way off the back of that form last time out. Ran an absolute cracker. Pushed We've All Been Caught all the way to the line at Cheltenham. That horse is very well thought of at the Twist and Davis. Obviously finished third to Hermes Allen before that. They said that the horse would improve. And I think Sam absolutely gave it everything to get it up that day and win. Because I know it's well fancied. I think it was the first race of the calendar year. All like the family were there. Willie was there. Nigel was there. And Sam was given that ride everything to get it up. So to come as close as he did and to be as clear of third at Cheltenham, I really do think Rock My Way, whether they expected it or not, has put in a cracking performance and deserves his shot here. And especially an each way price, and has taken a bit of money, so must be working well at home since. I really like that form, and yeah, Rock My Way to go one better.
Yeah, we finished on the same horse. Even though I found this race very tough and it's a very tentative selection, Rock My Way does get my vote as well. It's interesting, isn't it? Because he was seen 3 times in point to points, and I think they're probably just waiting him to win one before going on to sell this horse. And it was bought for 90,000 in November. Obviously, then sent to Cheltenham on New Year's Day. Like you said, I'm a huge fan of We've All Been Caught. I can't wait to see that horse at 3 miles. But Rock My Way was 66-1 going into that race. And you look at the way that he pulled him, and we've all been caught, pulled away from the rest of the field. You can't tell me this horse didn't stay up that hill. He definitely did.
Class.
It was just that Sam Twiston-Davies through the absolute kitchen sink, and we've all been caught.
He wanted to win that race.
Yeah, and just got it home slightly better. I think that's a massive, really big form line in here, because you've got Henry II. What he's giving away £5 to the field. So is Henry II good enough horse to do that in this? I think Pembroke is just a favourite that I want to get beat, maybe because it hasn't really run against anything, even though it's ran brilliantly and won. It's beaten the fields it's taken on easily. That's got to step up in trip as well, so it's unsure at the trip. What we'll know with Rock My Way, he'll definitely get home. And for me, what other thing I liked, I know it's attracted some money, 14s into 10s, 15 to 2 I'm looking at now. I think it should still be shorter, because if this horse was trained by your Paul Nicholls or your Dan Skelton at the top of the market and not Sid Hosey, nothing against the trainer, but if it's not the biggest name compared to them two, this horse is overpriced for me still. And I think he's got an absolutely cracking chance. But again, it's a tentative selection because I think he's really, really tough. But I just thought he was overlooked in the market and could run well. Definitely having that experience up the hill. Right then, Frankie, we've been through that pretty quickly, I think, even though that's covered 9 races, some absolutely cracking action at the weekend. All I want from you now is your nap, please, of the weekend. Who are you going for?
I'm staying at Cheltenham, but I'm not going to do a race we've talked about. The cross country, I cannot see why Dow to Work is 11 to 4. And I might have this so wrong because people are of the opinion, Gordon's only win when they're meant to, and it'll be safe for the festival and this and that. But I mean, this horse was 6th in a Savills Chase. He won the cross country, beating Tiger Roll. He was 3rd in the national, carrying 11.9 for 4 miles and 2 furlong, whatever it is. He won at Punchestown since then. He comes here off top weight, yes, but 12 stone. And as I said, he raced around the national carrying 11.9. Has a £7 claim run in Rob James. And he doesn't need to protect his mark or anything to go and win the cross country, because they'll run off level weights. I can't see why it's 11 to 4. And I might be so wrong, but I really do think that just represents so much value. It should be 6 to 4 in my opinion. So Dow to Work for me, I'm having a bet. I think you have to at that price. So that's going to be the nap this week.
Yeah, I think that's an absolutely cracking chance. I'm with you. 11 to 4 to me, he's far too big. I think this horse wins this and goes and wins at the festival as well. I think he could be one of the bankers at the festival, as personally. Yeah. And I know you shouldn't say that in a cross country, because they've got to go over 3 miles 6 and jump every fence known to man. But he looks a bit unbeatable, doesn't he? If he runs to the same as Tiger Roll did, like he did with Tiger Roll, last season. He broke my heart last season. I hope he doesn't break my heart again. So yeah, so 11 to 4, that'll work for you. I think you probably know where I'm going to go. I'm going to go away from Cheltenham, even though I do like Fairview at Cheltenham. I'm going to go to Doncaster, and it's either going to be Boot Hill or Stay Away Faye. And I think just because Stay Away Faye is 11 to 4, bigger price, I'm going to go with Stay Away Faye for Paul Nicholls to win the River Don. I think that's a cracking price. I think he's only going to improve for going up in trip. And I want to see how good this horse is over the 3 miles. So yeah, Stay Away Faye for me at 11 to 4. Frankie, that's it for this week. Thanks as always for your selections. Let's hope, because I know we were away last week because there was no racing, but the week before that we found some nice winners. I think me and Paul might have landed the nap, and I think we landed some nice prices between us. So hopefully we can keep the good run of form going. Please be sure to like this video, comment your selections or nap for the racing across the weekend at Cheltenham, Doncaster, or wherever you want to go with cracking racing. And please be sure to subscribe to the Winners Enclosure channel with plenty of content to go through. All the best, whatever you are back in this weekend, and thanks for watching.